Hey guys, Long Haul Larry, and we are at the ADL shop, and this is the boss's dad's truck. And I actually went and completed a load for him today. He came back and he had a Costco load that he had to deliver here in town, and he got back last night and just left the truck hooked up to the trailer. I got up early this morning and went over and got in his truck and went and delivered a load. And I asked the boss what's next after I got unloaded, because he was talking something I may have to also deliver John's load because he's running way behind and stuff. And he said to bring this truck over and do a DOT inspection on it. And he wants me to check out all the steering and stuff. Says it has a slight pull to the right. I didn't notice any pulling to the right, but I think that I may have an idea of what that is. But it's very, very slight. But, you know, trucks kind of pull to the right a little bit. It's kind of the curvature of the road. And then with that also, you know, trucks are actually aligned. So they actually, if you let go of them, eventually they'll go to the right. It's supposed to be like that. So they don't drift to the left. You don't go into oncoming traffic. If somebody passes out or falls asleep, the truck goes to the ditch. It's actually the way they're aligned. But what we need to do is do a DOT inspection on it. So we can start right here inside the cab. And the first thing we can do is turn on everything. And this truck has 904,957 miles. And we have 100 pounds of pressure. Not sure, make sure the thing doesn't roll backwards because I got it in the ramps. But we're going to release the brakes. There we go. Now it's stopping. We're going to release the brakes. And then what we're going to do is we're down to about, probably about 70 to 75 pounds of pressure now. And the first thing we're going to do is bleed the brakes off and make sure that the safety switch, which is the air brake, is going to pop out. So we're going to start pumping the brakes. And as we're pumping the brakes like that, I usually hold down the brake. And what I want to make sure is that I don't hear any kind of hissing noise, so that none of the brake chambers and the hoses are leaking. We keep pumping. There goes our brake air, showing that it's done right at 60. That's what it's supposed to do. And there she goes. So now our brake, so that is all worked and everything. And I'm going to turn this off. Well, actually, I'm going to fire back up. And I'm going to rebuild air. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check all the turn signals. And I know there's a problem because I just got done driving it. And I know what the problem is already. But we can check it, and you see how it's flashing real fast? It means we got a bulb out or something. Something's not connecting right. That one's doing it also now too. And it's the turn signals up in the front. And I can tell you right now that the boss's dad actually had the other mechanic steal my turn signals off the white truck. I saw the wires are cut and all this stuff. And I brought it up, and the mechanic was like, "Don't yell at me, the boss's dad had me do that." And the bulbs inside of them are not making good contact, because just yesterday, I think it was, the day before, he was here, and I had to move his truck, and I noticed that they were flashing fast. And I went to go check it out. He actually had a left rear turn signal that was actually completely missing. And so I fixed that for him, and then I found the blinkers up in the front blinkers were not working. I was like, what the heck? And so I pulled them out, and I wiggled the bulbs, and they worked. And so I think there's rust and stuff inside there, a little corrosion inside the contacts, because now today they're doing the same exact thing. So we're going to have to check that out. May have to get new connections. But other things you can check is a horn. Got a working horn, a city horn. Got a working big horn. Hey, we can even do the other horn. There we go. All the horns are working. And we're going to let this just build up air. And the reason why is because I'm going to go out and I'm going to check all the lights and stuff. And when I check all the lights and everything, I'm also going to go around the spray bottle and look for leaks. Oh. So now we can shut the truck off. And as we shut the truck off, we can turn on our lights. We're going to check all of our flashers and all our clearance lights, everything like that. But as we're getting out, we're going to double check our fire extinguisher. We have a good fire extinguisher. Guess what I just found? I found a light that was completely missing behind the seat. Don't know why that was there. Checking the fire extinguisher for safety equipment. Make sure that's all good. And we're looking for triangles. And his dad always has a bunch of oil. All these jugs are from the shop. Whenever we get full cases of oil, the boss's dad comes around here. And he's kind of a little thief. And he actually, he steals stuff all the time. So we got one. He always grabs, whenever he sees stuff, he grabs 1, 2, and 3. So we got all 3 triangles. I'll do that when I got both hands. DOT inspection, it is ready to update, so that's not a big deal. That's what we're doing now. I already know this. All right, so we're gonna go around and we're gonna make sure that all of our clearance lights, all of our lights are working. This one is working. The ones up in the cab are working. Okay, so I can see already. See, that one's not. We got our headlights working. I can hear an air leak already. We'll check out turn signals. That one's working. This one is not. It's gonna be a lot of moving around. That is working. It is good. This turn signal is not working. I believe it's this clutch fan leaking. That is working good. And that's blinking and clearance is good. All right, turn the blinkers off. We know that both the front clearance and the blinker is not working. Now we can apply our brake. And I have that little tool that just applies them. There we go, both our brake lights are working. And we're going to turn on our utility light. That one's working. That one's not over there. And that one is working. All right, we're going to try to put it in reverse and see what happens here. See if our reverse light comes on. So we can check our high beams. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. So those are all working. I do have it on, don't I? Oh, I made a mistake. I didn't have the key on. So the reverse light does work. In a 2 and a 1. All right, so we're going to start over on this side of the engine. And to basically do is I started in the back. I kind of worked my way around and everything. I'm looking at all of the wiring down here on the starter, making sure that everything is not arcing or nothing. There's no big corrosion or nothing. I'm looking at the exhaust, making sure there's no leaks. You got your main exhaust there. Looking around the turbo, making sure nothing is leaking around there. And also looking up around the exhaust manifold, making sure that there's no leaks going on around there too. So I have seen no leaks whatsoever. I've seen no coolant leaks anywhere. A lot of the coolant leaks will come from over in this area, up in here. It's all these massive hoses and stuff. Then I'm also looking over here at the shock. And basically down in the bottom part, if you see any kind of wetness on it, that usually means the shock is blown and everything. I know that these shocks are new. But you can check that up on the top. You can kind of grab them, move side by side, see if it's all loosened up and you know if the shaft and everything is worn. And looking down here at the U-bolts and everything, make sure nothing is shifted, everything's nice and tight. Looking up at the front there, making sure that they're shifted. You can look inside there and you can see the rubber bushing. Make sure there's no gap there or nothing. All of that is looking good. Looking at condition of the brakes, these are about 75%, if not more. I did these brakes not terribly long ago. Looking for oil leaks. Checking all that out. I'm also looking here for the turbo lines, for the hoses and everything, up to the charge air cooler. Make sure everything nice and tight. There's no broken clamps or anything. I would have known if I heard it. I could have heard a turbo boost and everything, a leak, but there was nothing. So then we got a problem with this light up in here. And when I get to it, right now what I do is I just go around the truck and I find everything that needs to be fixed, and then I'll come back and fix it and everything. Now I can hear a leak. I don't know if you guys can or not. And you can hear a leak, and it's coming from right up here in the front of the engine. And what you want to do is see if it is the fitting. There's a fitting right on top of there that goes into the clutch hub, and there's no bubbles. Looking at the clutch fans, or looking at the belts and everything, the two belts, you got your AC clutch one, and then you got your main fan belt. And I know these are brand new because this motor was just put in, but they look really good. Looking at mirrors, making sure that as I walked around the other side, I looked at that one, but looking at the mirrors, making sure they're not cracked or nothing. Then we're over here on this side, and we got a lot more over here. And over on this side, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're looking at the turbo lines going to the charge air cooler, making sure there's no broken clamps, doesn't have any kind of, like, you can see when they leak, you can see like a little soot coming out and everything. I've driven this truck. It does not have a turbo leak. It does not have a boost leak or nothing. But you just want to double check everything. We're making sure that all our fuel lines, there's no leaks in our fuel lines. Nothing else in there. Got all your fuel lines over here. Back in the corner back here with the high pressure pump. We got no leaking going on whatsoever. We got no oil leaks going on over here. And while I'm over here, I'm going to start testing all the fittings. See if I can find any bubbles. There's the main compressor line that goes up here. It's a reinforced steel fiber line. So I always just spray the whole entire line. Everything looks really good right there. While we're here, we're looking at the same thing over here. We're looking at the spring. We're looking at the bushings. We're looking at the U-bolts, making sure nothing has shifted. Checking out their shock. I know it's new, but making sure that there's no leak or nothing going on. The shock is blown or a shaft or something is coming loose in the top or something, or a weld. We're going to check our pitman arm. The way we check our pitman arm is we just grab it and we turn it. And it should be nice and stiff. There should be really good and stiff to move. There shouldn't be a... You shouldn't be able to go, turn it real easy. That means they're basically getting worn. Looking over here at these brakes, same exact thing. They're over 75%. I don't see any oil leaking out the bottom, so it means our hub isn't leaking. Just for some reason, he's got the cap off the charge line here for jump starting it. Now, when we're over here, This is the maze of fittings that can leak. So we start spraying stuff, looking for leaks. I am seeing not one single leak. Wow, really good. That's really good. He has no leaks whatsoever. One thing too is you want to make just doing a visual check over everything and making sure that like the fuse box covers are there. I'm telling you right now, people steal these things. Okay, we're looking at all our positive lines, our ground wires and everything, making sure that everything is, there's not a ton of corrosion on everything. It still has a protective coating on it, so it keeps it from corrosion. Want to make sure that these fuse covers are on there, because when the driver's out driving and he parks and stuff, some people lose them, and then when you know what they do, they just pop the hood a little bit, reach up in there, and they steal other people's. Then you go driving down the road, and water and everything gets in the fuse panel, messes things up. So yeah, so we're good. We're checking our power steering fluid, right on the money. We got no leaks and everything else going on over there. Gonna check out our steering shaft, make sure there's not a bunch of slop. It's nice and tight. Little U-bolts are nice and good. And that pretty much checks out our interior. I'm going to tell you that right now that it's the clutch fan that's leaking. We can check it from this side over here too. Spray the fitting. See if I can show you guys where the fitting is. Checking out coolant lines too, make sure it's not leaking. Don't see any kind of cracks happening in the lines and everything. But the fitting is right there. If you can see where my flashlight is going, there's a little air fitting that fits up on top of there. Screws in there, and there's a little 1/4 inch line that goes up there that provides air to the air clutch. Yeah, it's the actual fan clutch itself. So the fan clutch leaks, and I've done those in the past. You can change them while they're in the truck. There's like 10 or 12 bolts on the front of the fan. You just gotta reach around there. It's a real pain in the butt. Take all those nuts off and everything else, and then you can pull the bolts out that the fan clutch comes out. And you can pull that out, disconnect the airline, and then put a new one in. And it's a pain in the butt, but it can be done in the truck. All right, so now we're moving down here, and basically what we're doing is we're checking our steps. Making sure the steps are not loose or anything. Pull our battery cover off. It's hard to do all this one-handed. We're going to look in here at the batteries. This is really not a DOT thing, but you know, you should be checking the stuff. You should do it. I can tell you right now, you can see this corrosion right here happening on this post. See that corrosion? So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a wire brush and we're going to clean all that off. There's another one back there that has corrosion on it too. We're going to clean that off, and then there's it's a corrosion inhibitor, and it looks like this one was never done. This one, actually, the batteries were out of it at that other guy that does the motors. And when you put new batteries in, you spray a little bit of this. It's almost like a spray paint, and it's called corrosion inhibitor. You spray it on the fittings once you tighten them up, and that will keep that corrosion from happening. So we want to tackle that right away. We want to get that before it really starts messing up and you lose connection and, you know, has issues starting and everything else. As we're going down the truck, we're looking at the condition of the truck, making sure that there's no problems. Fairings are nice and tight. This damage right here, it's superficial. It doesn't affect anything. Everything closes, everything's fine. The boss's dad actually wanted me to fix this. And I was like, that's a big job, because this is really pushed in a lot. And he was like, just put Bondo over. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is probably, it's probably 1 inch to 1.5 inches pushed in. There's no way you can't put that much Bondo. If you did that, you hit a bump, the Bondo would just fall off. So there's no way to fix this. The boss looked into it and stuff. I guess you can buy a whole new panel for it, for the truck. That would be the easiest way. Otherwise, you have to take off everything in the inside of it, all the interior out of it, and then have a couple people in here, one pounding out, one pounding, you know, a guy out here with a deal on it. I don't know what they call, but it's like a piece of metal, basically. I think they call them shoes. You put it against the metal, and the guy on the inside has to sit there and pound it out against that metal and stuff, and it kind of flattens it as it pounds it out. It would be a humongous job. Really, it's just a little dent. It'll live. We've already checked inside, looking at our windows here, make sure the seals are good, nothing's leaking, nothing's broken. For some reason this rubber flap is stuck in here. Put that down where it's supposed to be. Looking at our fairings, making sure our fairings are nice and good. That happened too. The fairings got broken when he got backed into. This fairing got broken. I had fixed this a long time ago. There was just no way of really fixing it right because it was so busted out. So what I ended up doing is I just put some bolts through the outside, and I asked him if that'd be okay, if he'd be okay with that, and he said, yep, no problem. So I actually put bolts through all the members in there, and so the fairing is good and tight. So we're gonna check to see if our fitting's leaking at all. We're gonna check our seals on our glad hands and everything else. I know these are good. I'm not even pointing you guys at it, because we actually just rigged up all these hoses and everything. These are all brand new for them. And then we actually put this deal on it. The boss has been putting these on all the trucks. These are kind of like for flatbeds and stuff, but it keeps the hoses up so they don't touch the truck frame, because that is actually a DOT violation. If the hoses actually come down and touch on the catwalk across there or anything, that's a DOT violation. And so he has those, and you can just adjust them by that strap to lift them up a little bit to make sure they don't touch and everything. I've been going through the trucks and making sure that they're all good. Checking our shocks back here. As you can see, they're new. We're looking at our airbags, making sure there's no cracking and anything else. Those are all looking good. We can check all our fittings while we're up here. That is good. And then we're going to check our fittings over here. There's a whole bunch of line fittings right there. Check the blow there. No bubbles. Doesn't really pay to check those, because those are for the fifth wheel slide and the fifth wheel release. Okay, I hear a leak. I think it's... There is a leak. And as we're going, we're looking also at the brakes. The brakes are probably about 60%, 60-70% there. Same thing there. Got no oil residue on the bottoms. We got no leaking wheel seals. But when I'm underneath there, I'll look more. We're looking at our tires and stuff, and I can tell you that this, I think, is the problem why it pulls a little bit right. These tires are fine. These are a different compound of tires. They are perfectly DOT legal. I can measure them if you really got down to it, but they're probably 3/8 tread on them. These are actually the tires that I like. I like running these tires. I think they're very smooth tires. I think they wear very well if they're well maintained. But these are basically brand new. And also, another thing, I was going to do it later, but I can do it while I'm going around the truck, I guess, is I'm looking at the rims too. I'm looking for cracks in the rims, and I'll check the others and the inside ones when I go under the truck. Looking for like any oil residue that's coming off of them and stuff, and all the stuff off the nuts and everything. Oh, because I would tell you that there's a leaking seal. It's all good. Secure the shock. Nothing leaking on there. Our mud flap is good. Nothing's going on there. Looking for cracks and stuff. Seeing if there's dry rot on there. Looking at across our I can't, my mind is going so much right now. The suspension rods here. You want to check the bushings to see basically if there's gaps on either side here, because then I can let the whole thing roll and stuff. And these do not have any gaps, but they are starting to crack a little bit, but it's not loose at all, so they're good for now and everything. There's nothing wrong with it. Other thing we're looking for is all the clamps. I want to make sure all wiring and hoses are all clamped and zip tied up and everything. That is a DOT violation if you're missing clamps. And everything is all intact. Gotta get my spray bottle. So we're gonna spray all the air lines, all the fittings back here. Checking for air leaks. Nothing. I can definitely hear a hissing noise. It's something over in this side. I'll find it when I get underneath there. Oops. All right, so we're going to continue to keep on going because it's something leaking. It's either a brake chamber or it's an airbag or something leaking down there. So same thing over here. We're just checking the airbag for dry rot. Basically the same thing we just did all on the other side. We're going to do it again. U-bolts. Looking at our brake condition. Nothing. This, I think, is the problem and why it pulls a little bit right. This tire is bigger than this tire. And they're also a different matched tread. And so this tire is grabbing more. And that's pulling the truck that way. Also, another thing too is the fifth wheel is very dry too. There's hardly any grease on it. It's actually bare metal. And so he's not greasing enough. But this right here, see, that is bare metal. You can't take a finger and rub a finger on a fifth wheel and come up that clean. And you can see bare metal over there and stuff. So grease. If you do not grease your fifth wheel, then when you turn a corner with your trailer, when you turn a corner, it makes the trailer turn, it pivots on the fifth wheel. And then when you straighten back out, sometimes if you have a lot of weight, the trailer will not track perfectly straight. It'll be a little bit offset and it pushes everything. And that can wear your tires right here. See this tire wear going on? That's a main cause of that. That, bushings in the suspension, tire wear on the steers, all these things can be caused by just not greasing your fifth wheel enough. But I also think that the little bit of pull is because of the offset tires here. This happens, the boss does this quite a bit. He likes to just kind of mix and match tires together and try to make things work. And so many times we've gone back and forth on this. You have to have tires that are even. If you do not have tires that are even, it will actually blow out the wheel seal. It'll tear out your wheel seal and it'll start leaking and everything. And then the other thing is, it makes it different. It makes a different feel. I believe this is the problem. Now I just got to talk to boss into putting brand new tires on this side to match the other side. I forgot this mud flap. I saw this already. This mud flap is torn. See it? It's still there. I guess you could say it's DOT legal because it's there, but it's about ready to fall off. So we're gonna have to fix that. 3, 2, and 1. All right, I had to go right down the things we've been seeing so far. But we're gonna be back over to this side now. Checking our shock. Bushings are all good and everything. Now I didn't say it on the other side, but I already checked it. But these tank straps, we want to check these out to make sure they're not too not rusted or broken, that they're not ready to break and stuff. We also want to look at the cap and the fuel lines and make sure that they're all good, but fuel lines are underneath. Coming over to this side, I'm gonna check our fairings. Well, we know those are good because I just did all those, remember? Doors locked. Making sure our steps are secure. that our mirrors are not broken. Windows are good over on this side. I need to open up that cargo door. Alright, so we got the tire jacked up in the air. You can just spin it. Just up on this side. You just want to jack one side. You don't want to put it in the middle. You don't want the truck to move. You want just weight off the one tire. So you can spin it, listen it, checking the bearing. I think it sounds good. You can just personally grab it, rock it, see if there's anything. And I just use a pipe. And all you do is just put it on there and just push against it, of course. And you'll hear it if there's something loose. It'll be like a clunk, clunk, clunk. But I can tell you, it's tight. Kingpins are good. Everything's good there. Okay, so that's basically how you check kingpins and stuff and the bearings and everything. Make sure that's all good. And then while I'm over here, I gotta check the wheels, the oil in the wheel and the seal here. You can't see insides. Look. Oh yeah, right there, very good. You can see it down in there. Yep. Put it on the mark. All right, I'm over on the left side, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about checking kingpin. Now you got to listen very carefully. Hear that? You can actually see it moving. Oh, I just dropped my camera. Dropped my camera down there. But you can see it moving. So this kingpin is worn out. I've already written it on the board. All right. So now we go under the truck. Yeah, there's an air leak back here. I can't. Somewhere over there. When you come in underneath there, you got to do a DOT inspection. If you have another person with you, you don't need these, but just a couple of little zip ties. And I will show you what those are for. All right, so we're going underneath here, and as we're going up, what I'm doing is I'm looking for clamps, I'm looking at the frame members, making sure nothing's cracked, nothing's missing, no bolts missing, no clamps missing. Everything is secured. A clamp missing is a DOT violation. I've gotten nailed for it already. And the thing is that the spot where the clamp was, it was rusted and it broke. And I couldn't get the old bolt out where the clamp was. It was going to break the bolt. So I pulled the bolt next to it. It was on the differential. And I put a clamp there. It was within 2 inches of the other clamp. And the DOT cop got me for that, for a broken hose clamp. I'm like, dude, I put a different one right there. He goes, doesn't matter, it still has a broken hose clamp on it. Just crazy stuff. So as we're underneath here, we're gonna be going up, checking for air leaks. We checked it up on top, but we're just going up along the frame. We're looking at the frame members. We're looking at the fuel lines, make sure they're not rubbed. Make sure everything is secure. All clamps are there. Frame members are all intact. Nothing is rubbing and moving around. Nothing's cracked. And we're checking the exhaust, looking for leaks as we're going too. There's just lots of things to look for. Fuel lines over there. We're gonna check the drive line. Checking that for slop. Carrier bearing is good. I do have a wheel chuck behind it. Don't ever go underneath the truck without a wheel chuck. There is a couple fittings right there. I don't even know what they're for. I'm thinking that this somehow leaked or something. Somebody put that underneath there. Kind of made a concoction of fittings there. Kind of looks like the other mechanic. He is so into quick connect fittings. He will not put a different fitting on. Alright, I see an issue here with a frame member. We're gonna check this out. And I'll tell you what's bringing my attention to it. I'll show you. I don't know if you can see that or not, how good you can see with the light right there. But there's rust around here. It looks like something's rusting. Yep. Those bolts are loose. You can see how there's like rust around there, so that means that the metal is moving. It's causing metal to rust. It's moving on each other, shaking and rattling. And so this cross member is loose. Yeah, right there, that bolt is loose. That bottom bolt. Let's see if I can get a light on there so you guys can see. But I just grabbed this washer on this bolt and I can move that washer. Let's see if you can also see a gap in between there. So I'm probably gonna have to pull those bolts out because they're probably gonna be rusted. I'm probably gonna have to cut them and put new bolts in there and tighten that up. And what that's going to do, because the truck does have a little bit of a shake to it, and what, you know, the driveline is good, but the carrier bearing is attached to this cross member. And so now this cross member is actually loose. And it's actually, you can hear it a little bit if I move it up and down. So that is loose. So that's got to be fixed. I can hear an air leak ahead of me. This is the drain or the HVAC system. Checking out cross members, everything frame all going up here. Sure nothing's missing or loose. Fuel lines are all good. There's no rubbing. All right, we're going to check all the fittings here. Those are all good. Those are all good. Now, I have to get up here, and I can't do this with you. You got to see how tight of a spot I got to get up in there. I have to kind of go back there, squeeze my body through, and squirt those lines up there. There's just no other pretty way to do this. Oh, look at this. We got an air leak right here. I didn't even see it as I squirted on it. See the bubbles? See it there? So that fitting needs to be changed out. So we got a cross member and a fitting on the secondary tank. But that's not the air leak I hear. I can hear it above me. While we're down here, I guess I can also show the steering. We're going to come up underneath here. And we're going to look at the shackles and everything up underneath here. And then also we're going to check the steering arm. The basic way to check the steering arm is just grab it with both arms and just try to rotate it. It should go, but be very hard, and there shouldn't be any like spots that move real easily. So it's fine. It's good. So I gotta figure out which airline is leaking up there. I'm gonna see if I can shimmy my way up in there. All right, we're all done up in the front. So now we're gonna move into the back here. I'm going to show you what we're going to do here. We're checking in the wheel seals. We're also checking the tires. We're going to look in between the two tires at the sidewall on the inside. On the outside, you can see the tires. So you can see the sidewalls if there's any kind of cuts or splits starting to happen. But when you're underneath here, you got to look at that. But we're also going to check the brake throw. And this is pretty much how DOT does it. If you have somebody with you, then you don't need to do this. You can just come underneath there and tell them to press the brakes and you can measure it. But pretty much what DOT does is they take a zip tie like this and they put it around the push arm, brake chamber. And you slide it up against the brake chamber like so, and then you just pull it like that. Put it up against the brake chamber, and then I'm going to put them on all the brakes all the way around, and then I'm going to go up there and put that tool that I have that adjusts, and I'm going to apply the brakes real good, then come back down here and check with a tape measure from the brake chamber to that, and that's going to make sure that I'm within spec on the brake chambers on the throw. And if that is out, it can be all kinds of different things. It can be a slack adjuster, it can be cam, an S-cam, it can be the S-cam bushings, it can be the conditions of the brakes. But this is something that is checked by DOT, and this is what you need to check. So I don't know if you guys can see it, it's real small, but there's actually air bubbles coming out around this flange right here when I sprayed down onto these fittings right here. Must have got some soapy water on here. It's actually leaking out of this brake chamber. There's bubbles forming right there. Oops, dropped my camera. More water on there. You see all the bubbles? It means that this brake chamber is gone. There is a pancake seal that is up here underneath this clamp that you can change, but this is actually leaking back in here, so it's actually in the brake cylinder, the brake chamber itself. So can't fix it. You cannot take one of these apart. So we're gonna have to get a new brake chamber. But here, I want to show you guys something. Mechanics always instead of what they always want to do. I have showed you guys this in the past. My hammer's out there. I was underneath there. I tapped them all with a hammer, but look at this. This little seal, this little rubber plug that goes here. Mechanics always open this up and they look at this to see if this is like cocked way over. This one is over on the side, but the thing is, all you gotta do is hit it with a hammer. But I don't care if mechanics want to look at that too. That's one way to do it. I do it with a hammer. But then put the plug back in, because what happens is road and the grime and dirt and water gets right inside there, and guess what? It always messes these up. Look at that. This one's leaking. Oh, look at this one. This one has the plug in. It's not leaking. It's just messed up. Also, I was telling you guys before, always look inside the tires. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's actually cracks all along this tire. Right up here, just below the tread, where it's splitting. This tire is going to blow. It's all the way down here too. So, yeah. Alright, so now I have the brakes applied. I have that on there. So now basically all I do is just put a tape measure on there, and you just measure it. It's pretty simple stuff. That's 7/8 of an inch. That's 1 inch. And the thing is they're all different, and I'm not going to go through that and tell you what all the differences are. It'd be too much. And I don't want to tell you that these numbers are correct for yours. All you have to do is go into, just go into a Google search, type in DOT brake throw limits. And it'll come up and it'll give you a whole chart with all of the DOT limits and what each brake chamber are. There's all different brake chambers. Some are type 24, some are type 30, some are type 30 long stroke. Those are the main ones, but there's a lot of different ones, and you need to identify what you have. So that is everything on the board. That's everything that needs to be taken care of. So all that needs to be fixed before I could fill out a DOT sheet, an inspection sheet. And once that is all fixed and all that stuff is done, then I could fill out the DOT inspection sheet, put a new sticker on the truck, and the truck is good to go for another year. A lot of this stuff is very minor. It may look to you like a big list or something. It's really a lot of minor stuff, and some of the stuff isn't even DOT. It's just stuff that I saw and stuff. But we need to repair everything. I want to make sure everything is all good to go so there's no problems on the road. So there you go. So I got to get to work and start repairing a whole bunch of stuff and contacting the boss, getting parts, and get going on this. So I'm going to let you guys go. I hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day, great night as you're watching this here video. And if you are not, well, then you certainly just can deal with your truck. There you go. Or try it all over again tomorrow. I don't know why my face gets dirty. I don't know. It's just a mystery to me. I'll catch you guys later.